Okay, good evening and welcome everyone. We are at the February 10th, 2026 meeting of the Newcastle Town Board. The board has been in executive session and I'd like to ask for a motion to open the public work session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So welcome everyone. We have a big crowd today. I want to apologize for our lateness. There are times when we have a lot of issues that are important to the town to discuss and we don't want to rush it. So thank you for your patience. We have a work session to start where we'll be discussing board goals. I know that's not why you're here. You're here for the public hearing, so I hope you'll be very interested in our goals going forward. And we will be as quick and efficient as possible. We have Holly McCall who will be with us shortly. She's been at an event that was important to her son and she'll be here very soon. So let's get started. We've got our goals and objectives that we started discussing at a previous meeting and we're just confirming and perhaps adding to that. So Rob, do you wanna get us started, please?
Yeah, I'll just go over what the board is looking at. So I took notes from last time where we covered the goals from 2025 and kind of where we were on those goals at the start of 26. So you'll see those are the first two columns, and then I've added a third column which I took notes at the prior meetings, included some of those. I had some feedback from board members, and that's what I've added in that other column. So just looking through this chart, anything in green are projects that were started in 25 and carry on to 2026. Anything in the kind of tan color are projects that while they were on the agenda for 2025, for whatever reason they didn't get started in 2025, we've left them on for 2026. And anything shaded in blue are the new items that I took based on notes from the prior meeting. So I don't know if you want me to go through them
Okay, go ahead.
one
yeah.
by one. Do you want me to only go through what we're adding from last time?
Well, let's just go through them one by one, but really quickly. We discussed them at length at the last meeting.
Sure.
I just wanna take note of them.
So I'll go in order based on what I have on the list, and the first one is we've added under economic revitalization. It's just the board working with and taking our recommendations from the newly formed Economic Revitalization Committee.
Right.
I don't know if you- Comments?
So as we go along, we know we talked about this at length at the last meeting, so everyone is still good with that one?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
Under environmental concerns, we had a request to review the tree bank policy and take a look at how that could possibly be changed in the future.
Right, to utilize the monies, because there are a lot of funds there that we won't be able to utilize for,
Yeah,
For
I
trees,
think
so we
right
want-
now,
yeah.
the way that the tree bank fund is defined in our code is it's a very narrow definition on what the funds can be used for, and there's quite a bit of funds in there, so maybe we can take a look at future uses for the money that's in there.
okay.
The next item, and I don't recall who suggested it, was a climate action plan was included. Eric's
I'll
not
take the
in
credit for
his
that,
head,
yeah,
so.
that was me.
Right. So we didn't discuss that last time. I mean, we always do want to pay attention to climate action. We have a public hearing on these issues tonight, but we didn't get a chance to really flesh that out. And now is not really the time to do that, but we can take plenty of time to do that at later meetings. Do we have an agreement? We're not taking a vote on these, but do we have a consensus that we do wanna look at a climate action plan going
Absolutely.
forward in general?
Yes,
And we'll flesh that out at a later time, so, okay.
The next couple of items are just updates on projects that were started in 2025. We were looking at the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center. We wanted to create some additional programming there, bring in a creative director. So what we did do in 2025 was we hired Rachel Szymanski on a consultant basis to come in and kind of go through everything with the Performing Arts Center, kind of make her recommendations, which she did. She presented that to the board in November. We are working with her now to stay on as a kind of creative director, and she's already started, she's got a couple of events in the works for the spring. So that's a work in progress, ongoing. I imagine we'll leave it on here.
Yep.
Just real quick, Rob, going back to the climate action plan, I just wanted to say, I really appreciate you including that. I think it's really important. My understanding is the last time we had one was 2011. So this isn't like something we do annually, and that's why I think it's great that we're being added.
I think it was updated after that because we needed to update it for our climate smart community.
Great, but
Achievement.
my point is I didn't want to give us the impression that this is something we do annually anyway, but that's
No.
great.
Right, but if you wanna revisit it and make sure it's up to date, I'm sure it's due.
I will do that, yeah.
Next, we were looking at the town hall renovations. The town recently issued an RFP. We hired the firm of DCAK. They're going to come in and do a building needs assessment and make some recommendations for us. That again is ongoing. The contract went back and forth with our attorney and their attorneys. We have an agreement and I gave that to the clerk's office today, so we'll get that process in the works.
Great.
The next we wanted to look at was improving the cell service in town. We had some meetings in 2025 with Verizon. They had identified a site. It didn't end up working out for a couple of different reasons, but we're still in talks with Homeland Towers, and we're looking to see what we can do to improve service in '26.
We had a meeting, you had a meeting recently with Homeland Towers.
We
right?
did, yes.
Alright, is that the
We
next-
don't have anything to report yet. They're looking into possible sites and we don't know what those will be in terms of feasibility, so we don't wanna give people false information. So we will report when we have something to say, when they come out and give us a definitive statement.
Great.
Okay.
Under infrastructure, we had a request to add expansion of sewers. That's something that we've looked at. It's probably our next opportunity to expand sewer districts in town will come when the county completes the extension of their sewer line up 120. And there's a potential to add some of the areas on both sides, the east and west side. We'll take a look at separating those into some districts and we'll look at the feasibility of adding those, but that will come only after the county extends the sewer line.
Okay, so is it realistic to add it for this year's goals?
It's not because, so what happens with the county's working on two projects, the first of which is gonna be down at Joan Corwin Way. They've told us they're not gonna work on the project simultaneously, the Joan Corwin Way and the Quaker Road. So Joan Corwin Way will take place first. It's probably an 18 to 24 month project that doesn't have a shovel in the ground yet. So we're probably looking at 2 years before the start of the
Okay.
sewer line.
Okay, so it would make sense to take this off. I mean, we want this to be a meaningful document,
Yeah.
so
That's right.
we'll keep it on the back burner, but we'll take it off for this year.
Okay, under mental health, we had a request to take a look at how we can improve community well-being.
Well, we already actually do have several committees that address that, it was just pretty much documenting it and putting it into the town goals, but we have a committee on mental resilience, we have the committee for inclusion and belonging, we have the LGBTQ committee. You know, we have several committees that are looking at, you know, the sort of emotional well-being of our residents.
Right, I don't know that I would put that under mental health though, except for the Committee on Mental Resilience, but I think that we have committees that try to bring cohesion to the town and interrelationships among our neighbors and you know, a sense of inclusion and a sense of cohesion. So I'm not sure that it would be mental health, but
That was me, not
it's
anybody else.
community.
Yeah, I
For
don't-
lack of a better way to explain it.
I
where I
understand,
put
so
it.
Jen, you had
Maybe- maybe-
mentioned community well-being, so I guess that's a
Community
catch-all.
wellness.
And it's what our
Yeah.
committees are doing now in any event. So I don't know that we need to put it down as a goal, but I know that you wanted to mark it in some way as something we're doing.
Yeah,
So
we
it's-
put a
it's
lot
not-
of
not
effort
anything
into it,
different.
so.
Yeah, okay. So we'll just leave it at community well-being and keep doing the things we're doing and, you know, take feedback on doing something different too. So, okay,
And next, looking at kind of parks, recreation and some of our arts. We looked at improvements for the Amsterdam Park property. In 2025, we installed heat pumps in the building. Also in 2025, we secured a $250,000 CREST grant for some other improvements to the property, which will include installing a sewer line, building a pair of bathrooms and finishing the upstairs to that building. That will help us to, I guess, expand or at least better serve our summer camp programs at the facility. So that is in 2026, we just recently, within the last few meetings, approved a surveyor to begin doing that work. Once we have the survey work, we're going to be designing that in-house and I think we'll actually, I think we're bidding that out, Tom, I don't know if you recall, I see you here, so I'll just ask if you remember that. I don't think we're doing the work in-house, but I believe we were designing it in-house, if I recall.
That is correct, we're designing in-house, but we will be getting bids to do the work.
One goal that we made an awful lot of progress on in 2025 was the public art, movable art. Our Arts and Culture Committee jumped on that last year and added 4 murals. And we're looking to add 4 more murals for 2026 to finish the other side of the bridge crossing. We had a request to add for 26 an expansion of other art forms within the community.
I think the Arts and Culture had a proposal to add sculptures and other forms of art throughout the town.
Okay.
So we look forward to hearing from them.
Yeah, and perhaps a Neighbors of Newcastle project that will highlight community members and figure out sort of ways through art to highlight people in the community and artistic efforts in the community.
Okay, great.
Further down under Parks and Recreation, we were looking at Gedney Park. I think over the last couple of years, weather conditions contributed to significant algae bloom in the pond. Last year, we were able to remediate that a little bit with some herbicides that were applied. That was kind of a short-term solution, well, short-term to fix the problem last summer. The longer-term solution will include continuing to treat the pond, but also a hydro raking process that we're in the middle of permitting with DEC for both of those processes for 2026.
Yeah, that's taken quite some time with the DEC and we have no control over that, but
It is, we don't, there
do we
there
have
are
any kind of timeline?
3 different permits that we've had to apply for as part of that.
It was supposed to have been done in the fall, just to be fully transparent, and we still don't have the permit, so.
That's correct, but I will tell you that the algae bloom will be controlled throughout this year.
Yeah.
We're working with Little Bear Environmental, that is the company that worked last year. And I think once we saw that first treatment applied last year, it was just a matter of days before the pond cleared up. So I think at least aesthetically, it will be more pleasing this summer, but we will get, the longer term solution includes the hydro raking.
Right, okay.
We had also the 9/11 memorial refurbishing. We're working with community member Mike Wolfenson and also architect and designer Stefan Yarbeck. We just recently had the final plans, they've refined them a couple of times. We are now looking to go out to bid. There are 2 different components that will be, actually one component, we just need a couple quotes, the other one we'll have to issue an RFP. But we're looking to have that completed by the unfortunate 25th anniversary of the 9/11 And we look like we're on track to do that. And I'll mention, we also received a $60,000 grant from Senator Pete Harcum, Crest Grant, to help offset the cost of that.
That's right, that was really helpful.
Another under Parks and Recreation, we had a suggestion to include possible improvements to the community center or looking to increase any of the options that we may have at the community center. Does anybody wanna? Yes, no,
I am
offer a
always
few
looking
improvements?
at ways to increase community center options. I think the work that we've done at Amsterdam Park goes a long way. I think this is part of, you know, we have the Economic Revitalization Committee. I'm really curious to hear, you know, what they come up with, their thoughts. So there's a few, when we talk about a holistic approach to downtown, this is definitely something that I like to keep in mind.
Yeah, I agree, and also in conjunction with looking at town hall and the community
Yep.
spaces that could develop here possibly. I think that all ties in. And it's always important to look at how our facilities can be improved in terms of their use and effectiveness, so yeah, we'll keep that on definitely.
Under sidewalks and walkability, first up is the chap line. TAP grant was awarded in 2024. 2025 saw the town select a consultant, Barton and LaJudas. They have been working on the field work for the last several months on site, doing some of the environmental work and some of the survey work that has been completed. We've got a website up to keep residents informed of the progress on the project, and we will begin meeting with them regularly. Once they have taken the survey results, they're gonna begin the design process. Once they do that, they'll meet with Sabrina, myself, and other town staff on a regular basis, and you know, we'll update accordingly, but the project is moving forward. Sidewalks on Route 117 and 120, so we took a look and we've kind of called them phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is the sidewalk surrounding the mobile station. Unfortunately, that was a more of a need to have item, more immediate item. The sidewalk there is in disrepair, so we've completed the design work, and you'll see a change order on the agenda tonight for the permitting for New York State DOT, so that project's moving forward. What we've kind of termed phase 2 in that is a possible extension of that sidewalk down to Salem. So the next step in that, we're gonna, you know, Jeff Gaspar, our town engineer, is going to appear at the board meeting on the 24th to kind of update us on sidewalks in general and this one in particular, what the next steps might include. They would include a survey of the area and survey design and a cost estimate to proceed. So Jeff will be here next week to talk about that. We did talk also about sidewalk from maybe West Orchard School, Gedney Park area up to connecting it with the sidewalk there in Millwood. We need an RFP to have a feasibility study to determine if we can do that. It was one of the things on the list for 2025, unfortunately, it's not one of the things we got to. It's on the list for 26, and we'll try to work that in as soon as we can. Next, under traffic safety, we were looking at some road safety initiatives. The town is in the middle of a traffic study. We've now heard from Creighton Manning twice. They gave us a first draft and then a second draft of their report. They did wanna take some extra readings on Douglas Road to just make sure that the recommendations can be finalized. There were a couple of conflicting numbers from what they had. They were planning to come out last week, unfortunately, and the snow kind of deterred them. They have been responsive, and they actually reached out to try to schedule another date. So once they're able to take those traffic readings, they're gonna do it on 2 different locations. In Douglas, they will update their report and they will come back to us on the 24th of March.
March.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they had committed to a certain date, but
They committed
but
to
because of the
24th of
snow,
February,
they
but
weren't able to.
they weren't able to take the readings. And so that was an initiative, the actual goal of that was to look to see if the town could or would want to reduce speed limits from 30 miles an hour down to 25. So that report will make a final recommendation on that. And then new for 2026, we added not just a recommendation for reducing the speed limit, but also a kind of a traffic and safety initiative that encompasses other things than just speed for around town.
Would that include pedestrians and cyclists?
They could, yeah.
It includes all of it, and it includes traffic slowing measures, traffic calming measures, it includes an educational awareness campaign. I mean, we have a serious problem with unsafe driving in town. Hopefully it'll include some educational programs with the school districts for young drivers, so it's more than reducing the speed limit, it's an awareness campaign, yeah. Okay, we're almost,
Yep, almost there,
there.
Just under what I titled zoning, looking at the North Greeley corridor. First to point out is 50 North Greeley, you probably all know there's current application pending. We've received, Sabrina, maybe give us a brief update of where we are at this moment.
We're waiting for the applicant response to
Okay.
staff comment.
Alright, there we are.
We're hoping that we will have information and to be able to submit to the town board soon.
okay, just so people know, this is the Rite Aid property. People often wonder what we are doing with the Rite Aid property, it's private property. It is zoned for a residential multifamily unit. And so we've been waiting for a complete application
We
from
have a
from the
complete
developer.
application, we're
Well,
waiting
now
for
we
a
do, but we've
response
been
to
waiting.
comments,
Okay, yeah,
so.
okay, great.
And kind of the last item along the North Greeley corridor, there's a couple other properties in that area that may be desirable to look at. They would possibly fall under our considerations for the new or for the revisions, I apologize, not the new, but revisions to the MFRC that town is currently considering.
All right, and of course, we'll get into all of these issues in depth when we address them, but for now, is the board, do we have a board consensus on these goals? I don't know that we need to take a vote, I don't think we've taken a vote in the past,
No,
but
we
these are
haven't.
our goals for the year.
We're on the same page.
Good, okay,
Thank you, Rob.
all right.
It's a lot of work for.
It's a lot of goals, yeah, so, but I think we can do them all, because some are just still just works in progress, some are new, so I think
Just wanted to thank,
we're in good shape.
staff for,
That's right, Holly.
Cause this directly falls onto you guys. There are priorities, but the most of the legwork gets done by the staff, and so just,
And we have incredible
you.
town staff.
yes, absolutely.
Thank you for bringing that up, very true. Okay, thank you, you guys. Okay, so Rob, do you wanna go through very quickly the admin items, and then we'll get to the meeting portion?
We have two retroactive payment of claims. The first, January 23rd, is $1,810,537.04. The other, January 30th, a little bit lower, $27,200.14. We have the authorization to renew our annual system support agreement with NIC Systems at the Millwood Water Treatment Plant. That is the SCADA monitoring system for the plant. Cost for the annual support is $11,750. We have an authorization to purchase our PolarFlex System Live Edge snow blades. These are snow blades that we got a $52,000 grant from WQIP.
Yes, water quality improvement program.
So the snow blades are intended to do a better job clearing the road, which will result in the town having to use less salt. So financial
They're easier
benefits,
to
environmental
fix.
benefits.
And they're easier to fix on the fly
Okay,
for
good,
the people driving the trucks instead of the steel blades.
great, okay.
The total
Big time
cost
saver.
for the blades are $67,879.16. As I mentioned, we did get a $52,000 grant to cover that. That purchase is through Glencoe Supply. We have an authorization to enter into a 2-year agreement with Auctions International. This is the service that we use when we have surplus vehicles. Updating this total, always did this for Jeremy, dating back to 2014. We now have a total of $323,098 that we've received from the auction of surplus vehicles from the town. We have the authorization for Officer Matt Rosa to attend Harley Davidson training from another grant received from Senator Harkam.
Could you explain that?
So, well, we received a grant from Senator Harkam that allowed us to purchase 2 new motorcycles, police motorcycles. And this Harley Davidson training is going to send one of our officers to be able to perform maintenance on these vehicles, so we
Okay,
can
it
do
just sounds
the
like,
maintenance
you know,
in-house.
fun and games, so I thought you ought
No,
to
he's going there to
say
learn
something
how to
about it.
fix them.
Okay.
So total cost for that training is $2,650. We have the authorization to attend the New England Section American Waterworks Association Spring Joint Regional Conference and Exhibition. Our Commissioner of Public Works, Bart Carey, will be attending for a total cost of $960. We have the authorization to purchase water meter data loggers for DPW from Rios Supply, $31,000. The data loggers are improved technology water meters. So the old technology, when we come out and read every quarter, you read once and then 90 days later you read again. You don't know what happened. You have a total of what happened in between, you don't have any detail. The data loggers will actually tell you when water is used and it'll help you to better identify any leaks that you may have. You'll see that water might be running at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, which would probably indicate a leak. So just we're in the process, and we've been over the last several years of upgrading the meters in town. And this is just the latest purchase of the data loggers. Authorization to appoint the town administrator as the equitable business officer and authorize me to sign the system user agreement. This is a position that we're required to have based on the federal TAP grant, and you need to name an equitable business officer, and you'll be naming me. We have the authorization to purchase 3 police vehicles, 2 marked 2026 Dodge Durangos, total of $61,553 each, and an unmarked Dodge Durango, total cost of $47,766. These vehicles were anticipated in the vehicle replacement schedule and in the 2026 operating budget. We have the authorization to accept the January 29th, 2026 auction results from Auctions International. We sold a 2015 Ford for $3,100 and a 2019 Ford for $4,900. We have the authorization to approve the change order number 1 for the King Street sidewalk replacement. That's in front of the mobile gas station for JMC Site Development Consultants. $6,000, that's for the New York State DOT permitting. And finally, we have an authorization to approve the change order number 5 for the Metro North Railroad trenchless water main replacement project for our contractor Manganero, $60,585. The need for this change order is we were required by Metro North to hand excavate. We've gotta go down 5 feet and it's gotta be dug by hand. And it will be over 4 days, and they have a limited period of time overnight when the trains aren't running to dig down and confirm what utilities are there. So it could possibly be less than that, but the $60,585 is the not to exceed number on that.
I thought the equitable business officer has to do the hand digging.
I am not.
No, okay, alright, I got that wrong, sorry.
I'm not the manual labor. Well, maybe in my younger years.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks.
Okay, good. Thank you. So may I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and a motion to open up the town board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Rob, do we have any announcements?
The only announcement I have is town hall will be closed next Monday, February 16th, in observance of President's Day.
Okay, and in the interest of time, I will hold back my supervisor's report for the town newsletter. And since we have a captive audience here today, I would encourage all of you, since you're very interested in what's going on in town, sign up for the newsletter. I recap all of the meetings. I write a letter on things that I think are interesting to the town in the moment, so please go to the town website, look up newsletter, sign up for it. You'll get updates on the issues you're here to listen to and talk about and all other issues. So I will hold my supervisor's report back for the town newsletter. And let's see, Rob, do you have an admin report?
Yeah, just two brief items. First, I just want to announce that tonight we're accepting the resignation of Chip Fowler, really valued member of our building and maintenance staff. The last 28 years, Chip was our carpenter and basically rebuilt the interior of this entire town hall. Anytime we've needed to change an office or do anything, Chip's been there. And we are sad to see him go. I know Walter's definitely sad to see him go. The 24th, I believe, is his last day, so we congratulate him on his retirement and we'll miss him, certainly.
Thank you, Chip,
Thanks,
for
Chip.
everything you've done and hope you have a great retirement.
And the other item I wanted to mention, it has to do with the town's e-alert system. So I think some folks, if you were signed up for our weather updates, when the National Weather Service, I think it was Thursday evening, issued an alert at 2:30 a.m. You all probably received that alert, and if you checked the options to receive a phone call, you probably did at 2:30 a.m. So number one, I'll point out any of the weather updates, those don't come, they're not initiated by me, most of the other alerts I send. That one's a pass-through from the National Weather Service, so
And it was an update at 2 a.m. saying that it'll be very cold in 2 days.
yeah.
So no one
Not an
no one
emergency
needed
by
to
any
wake up
means.
for that. It was terribly cold and conditions were dangerous, but
Yeah,
it
so
was not
what
necessary.
what I wanted to point out, there are several options when you do sign up for our e-alert system. So if you go on our website and you go to the Get Connected tab, you can kind of confirm those options that you have, and that would prevent you from getting a 2:30 a.m. phone call ever again. You literally can go, and especially under the weather service, you can say what alerts you want. Do you want a cold weather alert, a tornado, a hurricane, whatever you want. So it would update that information for you, but it's helpful to check, and if you're not signed up for e-alerts, they don't all come at 2:30 in the morning. The ones that I send are generally during business hours, or if it happens to be later at night, it's because I've come aware of either probably a water main break or a road closure or something like that, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Rob. So at this time, we're going to take public comment, not on the public hearing, but on all other matters. If there's anyone with a public comment not on the best systems, please feel free to come up. Okay, anyone online for general public comment?
No hands are raised.
Okay, in that case, we will move on to the public hearing. Okay, now before we open the public hearing, I'm establishing that we will be opening up a public hearing on battery energy storage systems. People have filled out this list of names. I'll be going by the list. If you haven't filled your name out and you want to speak, Christina, is there another list that you can hand out?
I'll put it back
So we
here.
can start another one, we'll put it back there, but I'll be asking people to come up, state your name and your place of residence, and you'll be free to give your comment. I just wanna put this into a little bit of context, and I'm gonna hand it to Sabrina to give us background, and we have our lawyer. I wanna welcome David Chen, who's the associate of our regular counsel, Lino Sharetta, but David is well versed in BESS systems and the issues we'll be talking about, and so welcome to your first meeting here in Newcastle. we've had a moratorium in place for about a year. And I want everyone to understand that this was a proactive step to address a relevant issue in a manner that was timely. It was not a response to any specific application or any specific circumstance. We have not had any application for best systems at town hall. Also, it's legislation not to apply to a specific area in town. Whatever we pass here will apply to every area in town. Practicalities aside, this is not meant to address one specific area. So as you know from the draft, it's a draft legislation. We are in the draft allowing tier 1 residential battery energy systems and banning tier 2 and 3 commercial and industrial systems. So let's see if there's anything else. So just so you know, the public hearing is simply to get information and feedback from you. It's not a debate on the issues, it's not a Q&A, it's just to hear your feedback, public comment. So I think I'm gonna turn it over to you, Sabrina, to go over some more information and background on this legislation. And David, you will weigh in when you feel it's appropriate.
All right, thank you, Madam Supervisor. Since the town went into moratorium, town staff and council have been working with EMS and fire personnel, trying to devise a law that would be best for the town. That was our mission when you went into moratorium, or called for the moratorium. At the beginning, we utilized NYSERDA's model for battery energy storage systems. They have a model local law that the town was working to meet and to replicate for our local law. As we were drafting the law, we initially had what was called a permissive law, meaning we were considering allowing the siting of tier 2 and tier 3 BESS systems throughout the town. We started a closer examination, started speaking with other municipalities, and then started looking at our land use. It's a 97% single-family zoning. So with that, and given the public safety concerns surrounding BESS systems, everybody thought it was best to switch from a permissive legislation to a prohibitive legislation. So what we're looking at today is a ban, as you referenced, Ms. Supervisor, of tier 2 and tier 3 systems. Tier 1 systems are currently regulated under the New York State Building Code, so we have them in town today. We cannot prohibit them, but we can prohibit tier 2, which are typically seen in multifamily or commercial applications, and tier 3, which are industrial applications. So the law that is subject to the public hearing tonight actually bans those systems, prohibits them from being located in our town boundary, in our residential districts. The public hearing, we've received a lot of public comments since the public hearing was scheduled, and some of those public comments. Written comments. Some of those written comments called for more definition of tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and reference to the existing codes that regulate tier 1 systems. So those are changes that, as we have discussed previously, that we will incorporate into this new law off the bat. So I want to assure everybody that whatever comments we receive, if they are fit, we will incorporate them, and you will have an edited draft law for your final consideration. But right now, it is a draft law for comment.
Okay. David, do you want to add anything?
Sure, just very briefly to pick up on that. If you submitted a written comment, just wanted to make sure everyone understands it will become part of the public record. There's no need to read it into the record. And also, I believe the intent of the board is to hold this public hearing open for at least another session going into March. In other words, there will be no vote taken tonight. The public hearing is open. This is the opportunity for the board to get your comments and incorporate them potentially into any changes that they may want to make.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina and David, thank you. Like David said, we're not rushing this legislation. It's been referred to by law to the planning board. The planning board has not opined yet, so we're waiting for them, and based on their meeting schedule, we will hold a next session after this one on March 24th. So we'll be continuing the public hearing. Also, as David said, you can also send your comments to, and I want to let everyone know what the proper email is. Some people have sent it to the wrong email. So it's public comment, and I wanna make sure I'm saying it right. It's public comment at mynewcastleny.gov. Some people have been sending it to our old domain and somehow that's gone into spam. So just wanna make sure we put that out there. I'll put it in the newsletter. But so we are going to open the public hearing. I want everyone to know that we have a draft out, but we're listening to everyone with an open mind. And, you know, we will take in your comments. So, may I have a motion at this point to open the public hearing on Best Systems? So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So I'll be going by this list and I'll ask everyone who comes up to state your name, state your place of residence and give your comment. First person on the list is Mike Corso.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Mike Corso. I live on Brevoort Road near Grafflin. I've been a resident for 34 years. I'll be speaking as a resident, but I'm also a member of the Sustainability Advisory Board of the town of Newcastle, and I'm also a member of the Clean Energy Action Coalition of the Business Council of Westchester. So I'm here to educate based on facts, not fear. And before I get into my thoughts on BESS, I want to just point out that the future in the US is all about solar and BESS. Across the country, we are going to see an incredible increase in this technology as a alternative energy source. Part of the reasons why the adoption is so rapid right now is because, as you know, utility rates are going through the roof, not just through Con Ed, but through all counties in New York State. I know people who are up in NYSEG right now who are seeing 100% increases in their rates. So there has to be a rapid adoption of green alternative energy and battery energy systems that support the grid and provide resilience. We can't rely on the grid during these extreme weather events, and we can't rely on polluting generators that you often hear when we do have blackouts and brownouts. So billions of dollars are right now being earmarked for upgrades to these transmission lines across the country. And consumers are going to be the ones who have to bear the brunt of those costs. I've heard people say that pushback on things like BESS is irrelevant today. I'm not going to go that far, but I want to just point out where we are, why we're here, and why Sabrina made the comment about safety. There were a couple of incidents, one in Warwick, one in East Hampton back in 2023. And they were not pretty, but they were contained to those BESS systems. What has happened since 2023, and Governor Hochul had convened this task force to look at BESS, what has happened is the technology has improved dramatically in terms of safety, and the testing has been rigorous. There was, through this task force, a committee that was set up to analyze BESS for safety primarily. They spent 18 months reviewing with members of the state and particularly the FDNY. Now, the FDNY was the biggest opponent to BESS systems for years. And what happened was, after working with the FDNY and this coalition, they came up with 11 recommendations. Now, the bottom line, if you don't listen to anything else I have to say tonight, is that they have an absolutely bulletproof plan to put BESS in every community, in every place where it's needed, safely, okay? And I want to just say the important point to take from this hearing tonight is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can follow the guidelines that have been established through the members who made up this committee. Now, I want to just point out who those participants were, because it's relevant to providing a sense of calm and confidence about where we are in terms of safety. So That group was made up of the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, the Office of Fire Prevention and Control, the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, that's NYSERDA, the Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, Department of Public Service, Department of State. Now, there were other groups that influenced that core team, and that was those are energy storage developers and industry support professionals, national labs, other states, insurance companies, finance partners, the FDNY, local governments, and the underwriters' laboratories. That's the UL designation you'll see on a lot of electric equipment. So what I want to do is read the declaration. After 18 months, what came was this declaration. It was signed off in July of this past summer, and it became enacted in January of this year. So it's very new. And this letter, it's a short couple of paragraphs I'm going to read. And before I do, it's signed by Thomas Van Essen, who's the 30th FDNY Commissioner of the City of New York. And again, remember, the FDNY opposed best systems throughout the boroughs. They didn't want anything too close to buildings. Everything was very congested in the 5 boroughs and the city. So the FDNY, through the people who have signed off on this, Thomas Van Essen, Daniel Murray, former FDNY battalion chief and hazmat operations. I'm not going to say the names, but Fire Chiefs Council of Nassau County and an honorary battalion chief of the FDNY, an FDNY assistant chief, an FDNY lieutenant and co-founder. This is Paul Rogers, who I heard speak a couple of months ago. And then somebody who's with the Fire Protection Research Foundation. So the letter simply states, as fire safety professionals, our top priority is the protection of life, property, and public health. We have closely reviewed battery energy storage systems, studied the codes, examined how these systems are built, monitored, and maintained. We are here to say clearly and confidently, battery energy storage systems battery energy storage systems, when installed and operated under New York's rigorous and updated safety standards, are safe. National codes and standards like the National Fire Protection Association Standard 855 provide a strong foundation for the safety of battery energy storage systems. New York, in partnership with fire safety experts, has built on that foundation to create one of the most comprehensive and protective sets of battery storage safety requirements in the nation. These standards have now been further strengthened through updated codes that reflect the latest technology, field experience, and safety data. These safeguards include, and I'm not going to read all 11 recommendations, but these are key, these 4 points. Independent engineering review and permitting supported by direct full-scale testing, continuous 24/7 monitoring for early issue detection, rigorous testing for all final installed equipment to mitigate fire propagation, emergency response planning developed in coordination with local fire departments. Battery energy storage is key to keeping New York's electric grid reliable, storing power for when it's needed most, especially during peak demand and extreme weather. We believe that with proper oversight, clear protocols, and continued training for emergency responders, battery energy storage can and should be safely integrated into our communities. And then they've signed this letter. So no respect to residents who are showing up tonight to oppose this, but we have people whose lives depend on the safety of our communities. And again, the future, right now, solar globally is less than 10% coverage in terms of what energy we need. Over the next several years, it's going to be 50%. And as we build solar systems going forward, they are almost all going to have BESS systems aligned with them. So there are just a couple of more points I want to make here. We talked about the groups. So the recs approved by the council, I mentioned a few of them, but there's one other that I had to key in on here, and that is
Mr. Corso, I'm very sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you. and I wanna be respectful of everyone, but with respect, we have a lot of people who wanna speak here, and I know that you've been it's been almost 10 minutes.
Okay,
We don't have a timer here in town board, we don't do that. But I'm just going to ask, you can submit lengthy comments in writing.
okay,
And we have a room full of people who would like to comment as well, so
I appreciate
I will let
that.
you finish up, and I wanna be respectful to you and to everyone in the room, so please finish up, but I just wanna alert
completely
you
respect that.
about the time.
I'll just say, I'll leave with one last thought. I mentioned that the reason why there's been an uproar over Bess were these few incidents that happened 3 years ago, and that how there's been so much testing since then. We have a total of 6,810 Bess units in this state, 6,810. It's like when you see a Tesla car fire, it gets all the press, all the media coverage, but you don't see anything about the thousands of gasoline cars that are blowing up on the streets or in parking lots, okay? So I'm just gonna leave you with that thought. A few incidents that have now been corrected, and we have 6,810. We are going to have, over the next couple of years, a threefold increase in Bess systems in New York State, meaning we will have another 20,000 Bess systems throughout the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sorry if I can't read your handwriting very well, but Kate Paskowitz. Hello, just state your name again, and then state where you live, whether it's in town or not.
Hi, I'm Kate Paskowitz. I'm a senior at Horace Greeley High School, and I've grown up in Chappaqua since birth on Valley View Road. And I just wanted to speak on behalf of the youth, and I'm also a member of the Sustainability Advisory Board.
Hi, my name is Parvati Kovi Krishna. I am a junior at Greeley, and I moved here with my family in 2019. Now I live on Meadow Lane, and I'm one of the executives of the Sustainability Research Center at Greeley.
Into the microphone, yes, they wanna be able to.
I guess you'll have to take turns. Are you both going to be speaking?
We'll keep it short and simple.
Step up to the mic.
Can the mic be moved?
You can take it off that,
Okay.
you can take it off the thing.
We just wanted to say that we agree with the Sustainability Advisory Board's recommendations to approve Tier 1 residential battery systems and to establish a task force that would provide guidance on larger BESS projects. As battery technology continues to evolve, we believe that our regulations should evolve alongside it. And a task force with experts in battery systems would develop sound policies based on scientific best practices, not outdated information or misinformation. We are in a climate crisis. The snowstorms from the past few weeks have been a representation of the extreme weather events happening around the world, and we believe that it is our town's job to participate in the reduction of carbon emissions.
Yeah, and as Kate said, reducing carbon emissions is critical for creating a more sustainable future, especially for my generation and the generations following, and ultimately the future of this town. Battery energy storage systems will allow the town to contribute to this goal of carbon emission reduction, ultimately creating a more sustainable future. By supporting our recommendations, the town has an opportunity to take this responsibility and create a more science-based future for this town, and we hope the town board accepts the Sustainability Advisory Board's recommendations.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, and thank you for your work with the SAB.
Yeah, of course.
Sandra Stein?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Madam Supervisor, town board members, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Sandra Stein. I live on Gregory Lane in Millwood. I support the town's proposed ban on large-scale BESS facilities, and I'm here to encourage our town board members to adopt it. The extremely negative consequences of Tier 3 facilities in particular warrant nothing less, in my opinion. Communities that are residential like ours are simply not suited for these facilities. The risks posed to the residents, or even in the best case scenario, the risks that we residents will have to self-mitigate through evacuations, sheltering in place, or possibly shutting down our schools, whether it's Greeley, an elementary school, or a middle school, when the problem occurs, should be unacceptable to all of us as a community. The risks that we residents have to live with also include environmental risks as well, like soil, groundwater contamination from chemical leakage, firefighting runoff containing toxic substances, and the gradual pollution from battery degradation. These risks particularly affect projects near sensitive environmental areas of water sources such as ours. With respect to firefighting, thermal runaway events and fire hazards, they are real risks. All of the town of Newcastle is protected from fires by entirely volunteer fire companies, not the FDNY. Not the FDNY. Even with the best equipment possible, even with the best training, a lot of it which is sponsored by the best industry itself, and even in light of the tremendous spirit that the service our volunteer firefighters have, and I'm intimately aware from members of my own family who possess that spirit and people I've come to call my excellent, excellent friends, the available manpower is simply not there to provide coverage for both a best fire and any other calls that may come in while that fire is being monitored, and that could go on for an extended period of time. Stating that best facilities are needed does not mean that they should be placed anywhere there's a lot to purchase, such as what has now happened in our community of Millwood at 82 Shingle House Road. On the New York Independent System Operator website, it shows that there's a proposal by 82 Shingle House Road Limited Liability Company to build a 273.5 megawatt hours BESS facility, which apparently translates into 273,500 kilowatt hours with an online date of 2028. Now, many of us are very busy. Where that process still is, it seems like the application is there, it gets pulled out. One of us would have to dedicate a lot of time to continue tracking this, but we're doing the very best that we can as a community. Less than a ban is insufficient. So when the Newcastle Sustainability Advisory Board comes down on the side of not supporting this proposed ban of larger scale BESS projects at this time, I find that wholly unacceptable. And I have it before me. The Sustainability Advisory Board's recommendation instead is to establish a multi-stakeholder task force for larger scale BESS projects. And you know what? There's no place for residents on that task force. No place for people like us on this task force. Who's invited to this table instead? Well, as far as residents are concerned, the Sustainability Advisory Board only includes residents that are qualified community members. We have to be qualified community members. Qualified for what? Between all the other stakeholders that the SAB mentions in its proposal for this task force, there are more than enough qualified individuals. Yet being a resident who may have to face evacuation during a BESS fire, or a resident who has to inhale hydrogen fluoride, carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and methane, those things will not leave us qualified to be members of SAB's very own proposed task force. This is what they are proposing instead of this ban. So their alternative to a ban is to not provide us a seat at the table for community members because we're just simply unqualified. So with all due respect, I find that insulting. I'm sure they meant well, but I read it as an insult, and it's exactly why the town board should adopt the ban on these large-scale BESS facilities. I also want to point out, the SAB itself states that this task force should use evidence and best practices when listening to all viewpoints and addressing reasonable concerns. By the way, I don't know what is defined as reasonable. My concern may be reasonable, it may be unreasonable, it depends on the context, depends on who's evaluating it. But going back to evidence and best practices that the SAB recommends. Firstly, on the topic of evidence that the SAB wants to use in this task force, the evidence is, in New York State alone, we have had 5 BESS fires just since 2023. May of 2023, Suffolk County. June of 2023, 2 in Warwick. July of 2023, 1 in Jefferson County. And December of 2025, which was not discussed, another one back in Warwick again. These incidents lasted for days, they produced heavy smoke, they led to evacuations and shelter-in-place orders, and they prompted hazard monitoring. Is the SAB now going to tell those residents that they're not qualified to discuss standards that are relative to their very own community? on the SAB subject of best practices. The mayor of Warwick actually addresses that very matter recently because he wrote to officials in the town of Ulster regarding these best proposals that they were considering. And that mayor warned against trusting developer claims about safety because this is what residents are being told all the time. We're not even addressing the propriety of where you're placing this. That conversation is skipped because the industry wants us to just talk about safety. So the mayor of Warwick has experienced this now 3 times. He's now reached out to the town of Ulster and warned them against trusting developer claims about safety. In fact, in a December 2025 interview, Mayor Michael Newhart cautioned specifically against believing talk about plans that meet industry best practices or they exceed stringent state standards, because that's what we keep hearing. He also went on to say that municipalities should stand firm against having facilities near residential areas. Residents are indeed qualified and they have every right to oppose these facilities if they are not properly situated. That is why I'm here. That is why I most respectfully urge our town board members to please support the town's proposed ban on large-scale BESS facilities. I thank you all for your time and consideration.
Thank you. I'd like to call up Brian Burns. I just want to make sure that the microphone is properly situated. Can we come up?
Can you hear me?
It's not for us, it's for the tape. I'm sure it's fine, but I just want to make absolutely sure. Because it's off to the side. They can hear from the ceiling mics? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're set. Go ahead.
Hey everyone, thank you for hearing me. Brian Burns, I live at 52 Shingle House in Millwood. I really don't want to, I think what she just captured represents what many of us feel, banning at least tier 3, possibly tier 2, and working to kind of find a better resolution is what many of us are really desiring and believe is safest for our families and our community. I'm going to pass it to the next speaker because I think there's running.
Thank you. Next speaker will be Stephen Huffinson. Hello.
Hello, Madam Supervisor, members of the town board, thank you for hearing me, and thank you for having this public forum to discuss this important issue. My name is Stephen Huffinson, I live at 50 Shingle House Road, and I'm in support of the proposed legislation banning tier 2 and up, or I guess large BESS facilities in town, I should say. I'm particularly concerned about utility scale facilities for the reasons that my neighbor Sandra just mentioned. I believe that they pose substantial unnecessary risks, as well as if they were to come into our town, they would pose certain actual landscape changes that we probably don't want. A little bit of background, I have a PhD in mechanical engineering, and I dedicated 16 years of my career to doing research in sustainable engineering, sustainable systems, including energy systems and sustainability policy. I have over 70 peer-reviewed papers on these topics. I believe in sustainability, I'm very pro-sustainability. I believe in climate change, it is real, it is important, but we have to recognize that sustainability includes much more than environmental impacts. Even though there are environmental impacts to the detriment that BESS facilities could cause, they include human impacts. We have to keep that in mind, and we live in a residential community. As we recently heard, 97% of our town is single-family homes. Newcastle is just not the right place for utility scale battery storage facilities. So large scale BESS facilities would expose us, the town residents, to real local risks and impacts, things that have already been mentioned, fires, toxic chemical pollution, things that haven't been mentioned, noise and light pollution, property values. The benefits that we would see for those risks are at the regional and national level and global level actually. The battery energy lobby is saying that newer systems are safer than the ones that we're reading about in the news, but the technology is still evolving. We're talking about a huge fire in Warwick that happened 2.5 years ago. These are systems that are being built for decades. They're going to, if we allow this to be built in our town, it's not going to be here for 2.5 years. It's going to be here for 50 years probably, the way that things are built or the way that utility companies work these days. there are non-residential municipalities that are much better suited for these facilities than ours. I want to share a quote from a News 12 article about a fire, about the Warwick fire in Orange County, right across the river, in 2023. So this article from News 12 starts out, neighbors describe the odor of Warwick's lithium iron battery fire like the smell of burning glue. You can smell it smoking like crazy, said one resident. Is it healthy? News 12's Blaise Gomez went down to the site at Convergent Energy and Power on County Route 1 Wednesday afternoon, but couldn't stay long because of how strong the smell was. That fire burned for 2 full days in 2023. That's not that long ago. We don't want or need that in our community. So I'm asking the town board to enact this proposal, or whoever's in power of the planning committee to recommend it in the town board to enact it, or something similar that at the very least prohibits these tier 3 best facilities in our town. We do not need to be guinea pigs for this technology. It may be true, I hope it's true that safety has gotten better, but we don't need to take on that risk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Laura Lenehan?
Laura Lenehan, resident of Newcastle for 38 years. I'm speaking this evening not to address specifics of battery energy storage systems, but to raise concern about the closed process of the town board and administration that led to this draft legislation to permit battery energy storage systems up to 80 kilowatt hours and prohibit larger scale systems. The moratorium was proposed 13 months ago, instituted 11 months ago, and the legislation was drafted 9 months after the moratorium went into effect. What happened during those 9 months? Why was the process closed to the public? The board was asked more than once and by more than one resident to make it an open process. As a physician in clinical practice for more than 40 years, and as a medical school faculty member at Columbia for almost as long, I provided patient care based on the gold standard, evidence-based decision-making. And I taught medical students, residents, and faculty this gold standard of patient care, evidence-based decision-making, not expert opinion and certainly not Google. Why do I bring this up? Because I expect the town to practice scientific, evidence-based decision-making. So I ask the board, was your decision evidence-based? As a town resident interested in this draft legislation, how can I have any confidence in your decision-making as there is no way for me to know on what basis you came up with this draft? Who participated in the process? Well, we did hear tonight that members of the town administration and related people. No one was mentioned who is external to the town and might be considered an expert. What information was studied? What data were examined? Who were your consultants? How was the information analyzed and by whom? Was the decision to restrict battery energy storage systems to 80 kilowatt hours evidence-based? And if so, what was the quality of the evidence? It's all well and good that you're holding this public hearing. Clearly, there's a lot of interest in this draft legislation, but a public hearing is totally insufficient as a mechanism to inform the public and gain support for your legislation. Without an open decision-making process, we town residents cannot trust your decision-making. You have not earned the public's trust. So I propose that you extend the moratorium and assemble a task force qualified, and I agree that there should be town residents on the task force, to conduct an open examination of data and evidence concerning battery energy storage systems for the town of Newcastle and publish a report available for all to review before you pass any legislation. I realize I sound indignant. I'm not the first one. I really do appreciate and respect the good work you do for the town. Unfortunately, I have to say this best work, at least what is in the public domain, is disappointing. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I would like to call Zachary Bergen, yes.
Good evening. I apologize for my handwriting. My name is Zachary Bergman. I live at 37 Shingle House Road. I will speak briefly in support of the legislation. I don't want to reiterate what has been said in support of the legislation because frankly, I think it is all on point. What I do want to share, again briefly, is that to the extent that the town has spoken with our first responders and has gotten feedback that they do not feel comfortable engaging in fires at these potential facilities, I think that is incredibly telling of both potential harms that they could cause and also our ability to combat them should this legislation be either not passed or modified in a significant way. Now, like Stephen, I do generally support best facilities, and I think that we do need a cleaner grid. That being said, the notion of placing tier 3 systems in a town of this size and this makeup, where it's not, as stated, 97% of it is residential, does not make sense. Now, again, there are ways to create a cleaner grid, and this legislation does allow, as drafted, tier 1 systems. So to the extent that there are concerns raised about denying those sorts of systems from being present in the town, frankly, they're either mistaken or they are speaking out of turn. There will be the ability for best systems to be in town, just not an industrial scale. And frankly, that fits the needs of this town and the general populace better than any other changes that could be made to this legislation. I thank you for your time. Oh, sorry, the last thing I would like to say is, as previously mentioned, there has been on the New York Independent System Operator website numerous proposals to install large tier 3 systems in Millwood. And I understand that the town has not received any such application yet, but that doesn't mean that they aren't in the works. These concerns that are raised by my neighbors are not hypothetical. We are at the precipice of more and more of these coming into effect, especially given the fact that our neighboring towns have either placed moratoriums or bans on these systems. They're going to be looking to locate these systems where they can, and if we do not stop tier 3 industrial systems from coming into this town, they will be here quickly and en masse. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kate Brady.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Brady. I've been living in Millwood and now Chappaqua for about 14 years or so. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with all of you about this tonight. I do support the legislation as proposed currently. I appreciate hearing the viewpoints. I am very behind sustainability efforts at a personal level and at a global level. We have a recognition in this town, though, that we're 97% single-family home within this town. It's not suitable for any levels of a best unit that's at a tier 2 or above. Personal, individual, best units is in terms of charging units, storing your personal solar storage, totally suitable, and that's what this legislation envisions. So I fully support that. Related to the safety concerns, I understand that we have very active volunteer fire departments who I really appreciate and have gotten to know personally with some of the crazy things that we have going on at our home from time to time. I do express concern, though, for how our volunteer fire departments would be taxed if this legislation were not to pass. Being a volunteer fire department is a big time commitment, taking time out of your work life, out of your family life, to attend calls and to address emergent situations with fires, active emergencies. Best failures, best problems are multi-day situations. volunteer fire departments are not equipped to address situations like that. It is a burden on our fire departments that will eventually affect recruitment and affect our firefighters' quality of life and their ability to effectively stay employed in some cases. This is a burden that our town should not envision. Tier 1, acceptable at a personal level. For the Sustainability Advisory Board, I would really encourage them to double down on the options that we all have from from BESS systems at the individual level, using patio solar panels, a great option for people who can't or won't put them on roofs. Agrivoltaics for people who like to garden. It's a great opportunity to use solar to help protect your crops and also provide them with water by harnessing solar energy. There are a lot of other options and a lot of education that could happen. BESS is a great technology that, when it's situated properly, is fantastic. FDNY has made their decision for their environment. Within our town is not suitable at a scale of tier 2 and beyond. Beside for the fire safety hazards, the sound of these systems is an impact that is really not fully understood. If you go into the details of it, people who are proponents will say it's only at a decibel level of conversations, but it's not in isolation. It's added on top of the Metro North trains. It's added on top of the Taconic constant traffic. It's added on top of the cargo trains that roll through the Amtrak tracks on the Hudson River at night. This is constant audio pollution that our residents already have. Adding other units, the one in Millwood that's already being proposed by the LLC that purchased that property, is one. And if that one is allowed in, there will be multiple, and that impact on the well-being of the residents is a significant concern, as well as on the wildlife. Audio really affects wildlife too. So for multiple reasons, for safety, for livability, for just suitability of our environment within our town, I support the legislation as written. I appreciate the consideration that all of you have put into this, and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Oh boy, can't read the handwriting at all, but 42 Meadow Lane.
Sorry.
They already spelled?
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, Thomas Harris.
Good evening Supervisor Tip, members of the board, friends and neighbors. My name's Tom Harris. Tonight I'm speaking in opposition to the proposed blanket ban on Tier 3 and Tier 2 BESS installations. I just want to give some information to the community and to the board. So first of all, I'm a local volunteer firefighter in Millwood. I'm also a member of the West End Advisory Board. And I'm in the unique position that I work as a fire protection engineer and consultant for a private company. We have extensive experience in the battery energy storage sector, among other industries. My colleagues and I have been doing hazard mitigation analysis, fire and explosion modeling, and emergency response plans, to name a few things, for BESS since they first started to be developed for commercial use in this country. I want to state for the record that I'm not being paid to speak tonight. We do work for developers from time to time. Anything that I say tonight is my own opinion, my own thought, doesn't reflect on any organization I'm a part of. I acknowledge that there are hazards and risks associated with BESS facilities. That's no different than any other type of facility. The reality is there are always risks that have to be controlled for. We don't live in a world where risk can entirely be eliminated from any facility, unfortunately. So as someone who works on these type of facilities, I can tell you though that it's my opinion that a ban is a blunt instrument that might set us back as a town, and we'll never actually see any potential benefits that some of these systems have to offer. I do understand there are locations better suited to BESS than others, possibly not residential areas. Like we said, we're 97% residential, but there are other areas in town that are industrial and commercial use that we might benefit from.
I do want to touch briefly on the extensive engineering controls that exist that can allow these systems to be installed safely. I see it done around the country on a daily basis. The 2025 New York State Fire Code, others have already mentioned, it did go into effect on January 1st of this year. It's the strictest installation code for BESS in the country, probably the world at this point. I don't want to go into too much detail. I can go into that offline if you wish, but large-scale fire testing is now required to prove that fire won't spread between BESS units. 24/7 remote monitoring in the form of fire alarm detection systems, flammable gas detection, explosion control, battery management, and thermal management systems. Detailed hazard mitigation analysis is required to be done for these facilities, and then extensive emergency response planning for fire departments, which is what I do on a daily basis. Also, I do want to point out that there are many different types of lithium-ion battery projects and chemistries, kind of like cars or cell phones. They're all over the place. That does include new technologies under development, which might make more sense for our area. They are trending to be safer and have longer-term energy storage capacities. I think a blanket ban at this time would prohibit us from benefiting from some of those things that are under development. Most importantly, I just want to reiterate, I live in the community, I volunteer in the community. I don't want an unsafe system in my backyard or in our town any more than you do. If a unit has a problem, I'm probably one of those people that's going to come out at all hours of the day or night to respond to that call. Based on my knowledge and experience as an engineer and a firefighter, I know that these systems can be installed safely. I see it done regularly. It's my opinion that the local fire departments are absolutely capable of mitigating any type of BESS incident, utilizing industry best practices. And in closing, I think that a ban would say that we're not capable of managing this technology. I think a strong ordinance says that we are. I think that other more targeted legislation might better suit our future needs. Instead of a ban, I would propose that we put together a task group, develop a safety-first regulatory framework that gives our planning and zoning board, local fire departments, and ultimately the town board with input from residents, control over any proposed facility, and we can review them on a case-by-case basis. Let's let Newcastle be the gold standard to lead the way for safe energy storage development here in Westchester. Thank you.
Thank you. Pam Murray?
Dan.
Dan, sorry. Please come up. I know I've said your name, but please identify yourself and your place of residence.
My name's Daniel Murray. I live in Rockland County. I currently work for a company called Energy Safety Response Group. The bulk of what we do has to do with BESS systems. I am a recently retired 32-year member of the New York City Fire Department, and for my last 5 years, my title was the chief in charge of hazmat operations. The first speaker actually read a letter that I signed. I'm currently a volunteer fire chief in Rockland County, and I'm a volunteer chief of the Rockland County hazmat team. That's just my background. What we did in the FDNY during my time is we, as the first speaker said, we were very concerned about the installation of these BESS systems. We developed a very strict fire code and regulations and fire operations for our members to operate under. During that time, we haven't had an incident in New York City, and we had one of the strictest fire codes, as we usually do, in the country for BESS systems. Recently, New York State had a interagency working group where they looked at the New York State Fire Code, and they referred to they had FDNY members, including members of my staff, involved in the development of the new code, as well as people from the company I currently work for, people from the State Fire Prevention Unit, and people from industry that came up with the strictest, most robust, and comprehensive fire code in the United States. Some of the main points on the New York State Fire Code, one of which is a peer review system where any installation, I think some people think they just drop these in the middle of a town and they walk away. They have to be reviewed by experts, independent experts, to ensure that all codes and standards, including the NFPA 855 code, which is the nationally recognized standard and that they undergo the UL 9540A testing, which is a destructive testing of the battery model that's being installed. So what they do, and our company actually does this testing at our laboratory, where we force these systems into thermal runaway at the cellular, modular, and full unit level to make sure that they operate and burn as designed if they ever do catch on fire. In the last year, in 2025, there were a total of 6 BESS fires in the United States. And there's been an incredible uptick of installations throughout the country, which statistically means that the fire incidents have gone down by 97% since 2018. One of the people brought up how many car fires we have. In 2023, there are 210,000 car fires in the United States. So statistically, these systems are getting safer. The chemistry of the battery cells has changed from a nickel manganese cobalt chemistry to a lithium iron phosphate chemistry, which is less volatile and less toxic. One of the speakers mentioned the Warwick fire, which is also a volunteer fire department like I'm involved in. I went up to interview the chief of the Warwick Fire Department and the chief of the Orange County Hazmat team just to get an idea of what happened, because we always investigate. Whenever there's a fire, we send our teams to investigate and see what happened and see what we can do to prevent this from happening. The fire came in at 10:30 in the evening, and as is supposed to be done in the New York State Fire Code, the experts, subject matter experts, were on scene in rapid fashion, and the fire department was released at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning. I spoke to the chief. Since this wasn't their first fire, they had 3 fires actually in Warwick, because someone installed a system that wasn't built to follow the current codes and standards. That company has since got out of business. The fire chief responded. He actually left his members with their apparatus in the firehouse because of the inclement weather. Knowing how to interact with one of these fires as he was trained, they did not enter the facility. They did not put water on the fire. They simply allowed it to consume itself as is designed, because these systems are designed, if all the safety levels fail, that they have deflagration panels on the roof where any explosive reaction would go up instead of outwards towards firefighters. The Orange County Hazmat team set up air monitoring surrounding the site, and there were no chemicals found in the air that exceeded OSHA or any other national standards, including carbon monoxide, and they monitored for the entire duration of the event. Back to the state code. Some of the other things that other speakers mentioned is every site is required to have a hazard assessment, which basically breaks down everything that could go wrong with the system, and an emergency response plan, which is brought to the fire department. And that fire department must be given training when this installation is ready to be put online. I actually do that training. I do it all over the country and in other countries. And it's a classroom training and then a walkthrough of the site where the firefighters are familiarized. The engineers are there to explain how the system works. They're told, just like in a substation, which I was told there's one in this town that people might not be familiar with, they're told to not enter the facility because there's a lot of electricity in there. These fires can be dangerous for firefighters if they're not properly trained, but the training is part of the process. And annual training is also given because we know they get new members, they get new officers, some guys leave, some guys come. We also invite surrounding departments and whoever else the fire chief thinks would benefit from this training. I've done the training multiple times all over the country, and without exception, the fire department is confident that they can handle the fire after they've received the proper training. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Jeff Perlmutter.
Hi, thanks for having us. I'm Jeff Perlmutter, I live on 21 Shingle House Road. Since 1998, I've slowly become the old guy in the neighborhood. For the same reasons my neighbors have stated, I oppose the building of this Tier 3 BES facility in our neighborhood, and I support the current legislation. It's interesting to hear the other side. It's interesting to hear the pros and cons. I love the word bulletproof that one of the guys said. I love the current improvements, but there still are fires. It's very interesting that when you want to build something and get paid for something, it's nice to have, a industry behind you to build these things. For the same reason, safety, fire issues. We have a West Orchard Elementary School, it's right there. The watershed property is here. I'm interested in sustainability. I have an electric car. I know the grid is strained. But at the same time, there has to be a better place for this facility to be built. Not in a community, not in an area that's so close to so many things that will be negatively impacted in the off chance of something bad to happen. So find a better place to place this thing. I just have a question for the guys that are for it. Is there any place that's not appropriate? And their answer may be, everything is safe. So I will pose that to them offline, but the answer can't be any place is safe. And this is one of these places. It's just not a good idea. So what have we learned? I've learned, I know there's firefighters in the room. They hate to try to extinguish this thing. It doesn't burn. Comparing a regular car fire, gasoline fire, fumes happen, I get it. Electric cars burn continuously until they burn themselves out. Just a quick personal story with my relationship to town. I was gonna cut this out, but I decided I would not edit myself. So bear with me, it's 30 seconds. I've done many projects out of my home, and I've seen others do the same. Each time I've asked for permission, got the necessary permits, and the town and the various COs, and I've completed things as promised, and the town and I have worked great together. We just put in a pool that came with an extensive drainage system. I call it the 1,000-year storm plan. It's never gonna overflow. And a fence. I just needed to put it in for various reasons. They both were extensive and they were protective for my neighborhood. Upon inspection, they came, the fence was 1.5 inches too high in certain places. There was a gap due to the terrain, and I was told I needed to fix that to pass inspection. The fence company came back, I took care of it. It was very particular, but I did what the town deemed necessary. I appreciate the town, and I appreciate the building inspector, and I like them a lot. I always followed these types of decisions as they were putting the town and my neighbors first, not me. And because of that, I follow the rules. Using that as a stark comparison to someone asking permission to build to use this foreign LLC to build a potentially hazardous, impossible to extinguish fire, it just runs counter to how the town has always acted on our behalf in my limited experience. The metaphor of not knowing where a gap exists in this type of facility is glaring to me. They just don't know. Many of these facilities built in other towns have caught fire. They've mentioned a bunch of them. Under the auspices that the engineering was done great and they were safe. A fire like this has caused those localities a huge problem, and the residents bear the brunt of those bad decisions to build where they should not have been built. Please reject this proposal to build a Tier 3 facility. Stay consistent to protecting your constituents and approve the ban for Tier 3 storage facilities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Len Luca? Please state your name and place of residence.
Hi, thank you. My name is Len Luca and I represent New Yorkers for Clean Power. Speak louder. Sorry, give me just 30 seconds. not good with microphones. Is this better or no? Is it not on?
Is the
No,
microphone on?
That's not the microphone for this room. That's
Oh, it's for the AV
AV
system.
I'll try,
Sounds like something's
I'll
happening
try
back
to
there. Hold on.
respectfully speak loudly.
Okay, now it's on.
Did you say where you're from, where you live?
I do not live in this area. I actually live in Binghamton, New York. But I came to visit because the choices that you make in this community affect all the communities throughout New York State.
I'm sorry, I don't usually interrupt. You traveled from Binghamton to be here
Yes.
with us?
Yes.
Okay.
And what organization you work for?
New Yorkers for Clean Power.
Okay,
thanks.
well, welcome.
Thank you. So I don't represent any developers. We're concerned citizens who oppose fossil fuel. It started out as a non-fracking organization related to Catskill Mountain Keeper. Most of our members are in Kingston and that surrounding area. So I live in a different part of the state. I'm here because your community and the decisions you make here affect all of us across the state. Thank you for being forward-thinking and open-minded leaders in your community. You're a role model and people across the state care about your community. I've watched recorded meetings of your board and especially a recent meeting of your planning board. All of you, the members of your sustainability committee and the subject matter experts on your planning board, have educational backgrounds, business experience, and diplomatic skills that are somewhat different from those of many other members of town boards across the state. You also have very skilled and knowledgeable community members who care deeply about the community's well-being and make time to participate. I think everyone here recognizes that this is an uncommon and truly remarkable community. And I say that because part of my interest is to visit many communities and town boards and help them understand mostly the value of solar power. So this is why other communities across the state without these special advantages look to you for guidance, or I'd like to argue perhaps they should. The BESS law you are considering now is important. Battery energy storage systems are key to building a modern, efficient grid, making it more resilient while creating cleaner air and healthier communities. New York State's robust safety standards and oversight help ensure that energy storage systems can be part of safe, reliable, and affordable energy futures for communities in New York State, especially other communities in the Hudson Valley, because the Hudson Valley is a key corridor of power in more ways than one. As a renewable outreach coordinator for New Yorkers for Clean Power, I work to free all of us in New York State from wasting money buying, burning, and buying more and more fossil fuels that keep us forever indebted to fossil fuel suppliers. A clean energy future means breaking free from polluting our air and water, freeing ourselves from pipelines, and instead building a clean energy economy that saves us money. Right now, energy storage systems allow us to reduce dependence on polluting peaker plants and lower energy bills, and they also have the potential to provide direct financial resources for communities. For these reasons, I support members of your community who recommend that the board pass legislation that permits BESS up to 180 kilowatt hours for 1 and 2 family residences as outlined in the draft legislation. I also endorse the request of the town that the town board institute a moratorium of not more than 6 months to allow an open investigation to perform a full analysis of BESS greater than 80 kilowatt hours, including Tier 2 and Tier 3, by a working group or task force. I have read the letter that the Sustainability Advisory Board submitted to the town board on Friday, and I echo these recommendations. Just before closing, let me just explain why some communities do appreciate Tier 2 systems. So for example, the first speaker spoke about the value of solar and storage in combination. People who have solar and storage in their own homes know that that's the best, and I'm sure many of your neighbors can explain that. Businesses also see that value, and so there might be some businesses in your neighborhood or nearby who see that combination as ideal. I wanted to point out that NYSERDA has a handbook that shows solar and storage is the ideal combination for communities, service centers. So if you have a community safety center, where residents can come for heating and cooling needs or emergency power outages, the solar plus storage combination is ideal. And it would be a size 2-tier in the system is the way you describe it. I am not a professional advocate of tier 3 systems as you describe them, but I can say that some communities do prefer those systems. And I just, again, like to refer you to resources available from NYSERDA that explain that tier 3 systems actually have to undergo the most stringent reviews. And so while you might be thinking, oh, larger must mean more risky, it's also the fact that larger systems are subject to more and more constraints, and in some ways they are less susceptible to failure than other types of systems. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you letting me speak.
Okay, thank you. Michael Gerard.
Madam Supervisor, members of the town board, my name is Michael Gerard. My wife and I have lived in Newcastle for 39 years. I'm a professor at Columbia Law School where I teach environmental law, energy law, and climate change law. I urge you to permit Tier 1 systems and to extend the moratorium on Tier 2 and 3 systems so that you can thoroughly examine the safety and other aspects of it. As you've heard, Tier 2 systems are needed for medium-sized businesses, for most solar installations, for some electric vehicle fast chargers, and other purposes. It's true that battery systems have had some safety issues, a few of them, and as you've heard, in 2023, Governor Hochul convened a interagency fire safety working group. It consulted with many experts from around the state and around the country. And 2 years later, in 2025, the State Fire Prevention and Building Code Council adopted new updated energy storage standards. The state's revised fire code went into effect just last month on January 1, 2026. It requires all these systems to comply with Standard 855 of the National Fire Protection Association, which has detailed standards for design, installation, commissioning, operation, maintenance, and decommissioning of battery facilities. On top of that, the State Fire Code requires that equipment have certifications from the Underwriter Laboratories for the safety and performance of battery cells and modules, submission of an emergency response plan, and local first responders. As you've heard, the technologies are developing rapidly. These are not your grandfather's batteries that we're talking about installing now. The equipment that led to the fires in Warwick were a prior generation or prior generations. They would not be allowed now in Newcastle under these new standards. So I urge the town board to spend the next few months doing a serious study, working with the Sustainability Advisory Board, with interested residents, with others to understand what the new standards are. I also recommend that Tier 2 systems and Tier 3 systems be subject to a special permit by the planning board, so that when an actual application comes before you, a determination can be made about whether it's an appropriate site. There are certainly a lot of places in the town where it would not be appropriate to put one of these, but there may also be other locations in the town where it is. So I think it would be over-inclusive to have a standard that bars them everywhere, regardless of the location. Rather, it should be a site-specific determination about whether a particular location is suitable for one of these systems. So we've heard about a proposed Tier 3 system. I don't know whether it's in a good location or not, but that location should be examined to see whether it is appropriate, and everyone can then speak to the special permit application. As others have said tonight, battery systems are very important in enhancing the affordability and reliability and economics of renewable energy systems such as solar. The town has a long, proud history of encouraging encouraging positive action on climate change, and I've heard that you're gonna be taking another look at your climate change plan, which is a good idea. Final thing I wanted to say is that most of the electricity that we use in Newcastle comes from natural gas power plants. And most of that natural gas comes from fracking in Pennsylvania. I think it's not responsible for the town to impose all of our environmental impacts on other communities when there are some alternatives, when there are some ways that we can contribute positively to environmental improvement, if that can be done safely in appropriate locations. So again, I urge extension of the moratorium on Tier 2 and Tier 3 and serious consideration of a special permit requirement. NYSERDA has issued proposed special permit criteria and standards that could be a good place to start. And you also have the moratorium on solar. That's not before you tonight. A year ago, I testified in opposition to the moratorium on solar. When it comes back here, I'll do that again, but right now we're just talking about batteries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kent Thomas.
Hi, my name's Kent Thomas. I've been a 38-year resident and also a former co-chair of the Sustainability Advisory Board. So there's so many facets to battery storage, it's impossible to cover them all in the time that we have. But battery storage has undergone a great transformation. Battery fires are uncommon. Those getting so much attention have occurred with first-generation equipment and design. This is not what we're considering here. And these are not your father's batteries, not not your grandfather's batteries, not even your father's batteries. The transition from nickel, manganese, cobalt to lithium iron phosphate has greatly reduced the failures and decreased undesirable results. Incidents have dropped 98% between 2018 and 2024. Solar battery chemistries continue to evolve and become safer and safer all the time. By limiting the installation of larger scale storage, you are eliminating using much safer technologies in the future. In addition, battery construction has undergone re-engineering to provide less likelihood of cascading effects from a reaction. The Interagency Fire Safety Working Group spent 18 months gathering and analyzing data, resulting in the creation of new standards of excellence in battery storage and design. Standards including UL 9540, construction and performance, UL 9540A, fire testing methods, NFPA 855, governing design, installation, operation, and maintenance, and Section 1270 of the 2025 New York State Fire Code all provide regulations which work in conjunction with each other to provide the most comprehensive safety regulations in the country. And just as a note, if you did allow Tier 3, anything above 600 kilowatts requires a special use permit, which would require a public hearing. Okay. In recent podcast, FDNY's Chief of Safety, James Canty, and has Battalion Chiefs Ray Coyle and Matt Quinn describe their regulations, which are based on the standards developed by NYSERDA as the world's strictest. Let us be clear, these are not the same often unregulated, poorly manufactured batteries found in e-bikes or scooters. Grid stability and rising cost of electricity can also be addressed by battery storage. On June 24th, 2025, our area experienced extreme heat, with temperatures rising to as much as 100 degrees. These excessive temperatures are becoming more common with climate change. At that time, the strain placed on the grid was enormous. In an unprecedented action, the New York Independent Service Operator contacted utilities downstate to request their large customers that had backup power generation to fire up their generators and disconnect from the grid. The effort was successful, but this is not something we can rely on in the future. At the same time, the cost of energy spiked. Energy selling for $120 per megawatt hour that morning was $1,255 by 3:40 and peaked at $2,500 in the Hudson Valley and $7,300 on Long Island. These are not going to be uncommon occurrences. These spikes are not apparent to you in the blended rate you are presented with on your Con Ed bill, but they are driving up your energy costs. In 2021 in Texas, a cold snap and ice storm essentially crippled their electric grid. Blackouts were widespread and prices skyrocketed. The Texas grid operator, ERCOT, was unable to provide a solution. Fast forward to today, where large amounts of battery storage have been deployed, preventing these outages from reoccurring. There are also considerations for mid-level battery storage. Mid-level tier 2 battery storage considerations have not been explored fully in this legislation. Their uses can be diverse in conjunction, as Michael had mentioned, with DC fast charging for EVs, saving money by performing peak shaving at locations where there is infrequent high demand for energy, such as Chapac. It was originally in the proposal with solar for Chapac, but was removed. To supply housing communities and critical commercial users at events such as Community Day or the Chappaqua Book Festival to alleviate noise and noxious fumes. And something else that hasn't really been explored is vehicle to house or V2H bidirectional charging, which is available on many vehicles now. Okay, including the Ford F-150, which has a 131 kilowatt hour battery, and the Cadillac Escalade, which has a 205 kilowatt hour battery. You can drive those into your garage and plug them into your house, and it far exceeds the 80 kilowatt hours that are allowed in the legislation. The analysis performed to date by the town has amounted to 4 people in a room. It has excluded some of the most technologically savvy organizations at their disposal, such as the SAB, Sustainable Westchester, and NYSERDA. In fact, our town code outlines one of the duties of the SAB to recommend new technology and research into alternatives for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. They have been omitted from this process. I again call for the town to establish a working group with members from a variety of backgrounds, including the community, to perform adequate science-based analysis on all aspects of battery storage and issue a report with recommendations. Doing so would eliminate deficiencies presented in the moratorium legislation and the draft legislation for this law, which we have seen. It would also temper the spread of misinformation as was provided to the planning board in a recent meeting. This is not an easy way, but it is the correct way to proceed. We still have time to do it properly. Thank you for.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of my list. Is there anyone else in the room? Okay, come on up and we're keeping track of everyone giving public comment, so you'll have to give me your name and I'll write it down in your place of business, unless you want to do it right there on the list. We're going to take all comments from the room and then we'll go to comments online in case there's anyone still waiting online. That's our usual protocol, so we're gonna stick to that. Anyone else wanting to make a public comment, please come and write down your name and address.
Thank you. Okay. My name is Rosalind Manowitz. I live in this town, I have lived in this town for 50 years. Actually, we moved in 1973. We have 3 children, all of whom went through the school system in Chappaqua. I have been listening to all of the comments. I'm not as erudite as some of the people who have spoken, nor am I up on all of the pros and cons of the issue. However, it seems to me that everybody who lives here has come here basically for the schools and for the environment of the town. Why would anyone come here and send their children to West Orchard School or any of whatever the location is, if there's even the least chance of the fires that are being spoken about and of the pollution of the atmosphere, the pollution of the water, the aqueducts are right here, the water treatment plant is right here. I'm not sure I understand what the pro is in terms of this industrial level. I'm not talking about tier 1 where you put solar panels on your roof or have a car an electric car that you're charging. But the other Tier 2 and Tier 3 seem to me totally inappropriate. We spend loads of money on children's education, on teachers' salaries, on everything that brings people to the town. That's my comment, to consider all of the aspects of the environment, the education, the reasons that people come here, and make a decision based on that more than whether the way I see the benefits is that they're really not very much of a benefit to the residents. It's more of a benefit to business people and vested interests, but not to the people who live in the town. So that's my comment after 53 years of living here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, thank you.
I just need your phone number, I think. It's the last one I need.
Would you like to make another a comment?
I haven't made a comment yet. He's not named on the list.
You're on the list.
Hi, I realize I'm the last person here standing between everyone and
You may
No,
not.
there's online
You may
comments,
not be.
Julie.
No, I'm not.
And anyone here could follow you. So-
Either way, I'm gonna try and keep this quick. Firstly, if I'm able to come here after 53 years of.
Wait, I'm sorry, could you identify
Oh,
yourself and
sure,
your
sure.
place of
Vivek
residence?
Agastya, I live on 45 Northway. I'm one of your neighbors as well. I also sit on the Sustainability Advisory Board, and I put my pen to paper and draft that letter that some of you've read. I wanted to start off saying, after 53 years of living in the town, if I'm able to show the passion of coming here and speaking, I think I would consider that a life well lived. So thank you very much for showing up. I'm gonna very quickly introduce myself. Professionally, I work for a family office called Fortistar Capital. We invest in sustainability. We invest in renewable energy. And as a part of that, there's a couple of portfolio companies that we've invested in that are relevant to the space, that give me a little bit of knowledge in the space. One is a portfolio of power plants in upstate New York. They don't do any battery energy storage systems, but they're in the New York grid, and they send power into the grid. Another one is a portfolio company called Epic Star Energy. They are a battery energy storage developer. They're a renewable energy developer, solar and storage. They only work on utility scale systems, and they don't look at anything in New York area. They work on the West Coast in CAISO, California ISO, and ERCOT and WEC. Those are regions all on the West Coast. So they're not looking to invest in New York. New York is unfortunately not a good market for battery energy storage systems in general, and that's why they don't look at it. But I wanted to lay that out there, that to both say that I have a little bit of knowledge in the space. I'm not a technical person by any stretch of the imagination, but I have some knowledge in the space. I was a petroleum engineer for 5 years right out of college, and then I've spent the next 20 years repenting and working in renewable energy since. Right? In 2016, when Hillary Clinton lost the presidential election, the winner of the Electoral College then took us out of the Paris Climate Accords. And that was when I joined the Sustainability Advisory Board, because I'd read an article where people said, hey, what are you going to do for the next 4 years? Work on at the local level, see what you can do on the local level, and then we'll hopefully have another president in 4 years, right? I stayed for those 4 years, and I'm in exactly the same position again. So I'm here working with the Sustainability Advisory Board because I think there's things that we can do on the local level for sustainability, and that's who the rest of the Sustainability Advisory Board here is. They're all your neighbors. They're all people that have come here because we can do a little bit to help with sustainability at the local level here. I was happy to hear the comments from the proponents of the bill, because I uniformly heard that you're all supporters of sustainability, and that just gives me confidence that I chose a good town to live in, because even the people that disagree with me on this have the same values that I do. If there were a battery energy storage project somewhere on Northway, I would be using every avenue to probably stop that myself. So I hear you guys. I understand where you're coming from. I do want to point out that none of the qualifications I mentioned earlier were were the qualifications that allowed me to come to the Sustainability Advisory Board. The only qualification I needed for that was being a resident of the town, right? So I do welcome others to join the Sustainability Advisory Board as well. Now, wanted to address one question, madam, that you brought up, which was what is it in the residents? What's in it for our residents to have a battery energy storage system in town? Three things. Reliability. As with climate change, battery energy storage systems are one of the only tools that attack climate change that can counter climate change both from a mitigation perspective, that is eliminating fossil fuels on the grid because it enables more solar on the grid, but also from a adaptability perspective. So to the extent climate change is going to result in bigger storms, more power outages, battery energy storage systems in your local grid can keep your lights on, right? The grid is the future grid, which is not more than like 5 or 10 years away from now, is going to be one which is smart and automatically keeps people's lights on, even though the rest of the grid might go down. Secondly, price. Solar energy is the cheapest source of energy now without tax credits, with nothing else. With battery energy storage, we can have more solar on the grid. It brings the price down for everybody. This is a grid-wide benefit. And then the third thing is the point I mentioned about climate change. It takes fossil fuels off. But for our residents specifically, not tomorrow, not a year from now, but 5 years, 10 years down the road, if we have a utility scale battery energy storage project in our local area, it will benefit at least from a reliability. It'll benefit us at least from a reliability perspective. Having said that, I don't think it should go in any of the 97% of our town that is single family homes. I think it may be located in the 3% that is not single family homes. If after a thorough review, the task force that we're recommending finds that is the thing. So we don't come here with an agenda. We are not saying we believe that there are benefits to battery energy storage systems in the place, but we're not saying that we think we should absolutely permit it in our town. We're saying let's review it, let's bring a group together that is qualified, and again, the qualification that we're really talking about is residents. That's it. There is no other agenda that we're trying to push here. We did not define qualification in that letter, and we didn't define reasonable in that letter because we thought that is something for the board to decide with time. So I just wanted to answer your question on that front.
Vivek, with respect, this is public comment to the board,
Sorry.
People can
We can
make,
respond.
people can make their comments, so it's not an invitation for people to respond to you because you're responding to them. And I respect what you're saying, Vivek, I respect your service to the town, everything you've done, but just to put it into context so people don't feel put on the spot because they commented, this is a public
hear you.
comment to the board.
Thank you for
Okay,
clarifying that. I'm going to make only a couple more points here. Location of battery energy storage systems is key for the point that I made earlier. Local resilience requires local battery energy storage systems. Battery energy storage systems are not going to be around for a system that is put in place now will not stay around for 50 years. Batteries degrade over time. 20-year life is what is considered normal for an investment purpose now. That might improve over time, but as of right now, in 20 years, those cells are being removed and new ones will be put in at that place. We are not going to be overrun by utility scale battery energy storage systems because there are constraints, transmission constraints, distribution constraints on how much can be uploaded, how much power can be uploaded, and how much cannot be. So there might be a few systems that might come in. We're not going to be overrun by them. And lastly, while I was here, I sent out a note to someone to research whether there is going to be a large-scale battery energy storage facility sited in our town. And I came one of the people that worked for the developer that I was talking about took 5 minutes out of her time and did a little bit of research and said she believes there is a 273 megawatt hour system that is trying to be located in Yorktown, but none in the town of Newcastle. And she gave me 5 minutes later another thing saying we would never invest in that because it will not make money. Because there is no upgrading capacity apparently at Millwood substation that those people are trying to connect to. So with that, I thank you all for your time, and I apologize to anybody if they feel that I put them on the spot.
It's okay, thank you very much. Anyone else in the room would like to make a public comment? No, okay. Seeing none, is there anyone online for, yes, I see that. There are people online for public comment, okay. Is there an order to them, or should I just call any? Okay, Raquel Burns, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Raquel Burns, 52 Shingle House in Millwood, New York here. I just have a few quick statements that I wanted to make.
Hang on a second,
First
can we raise the volume on that?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, it's not, I don't know if it's you or if it's us, hold on.
Okay.
We can hear it well back here, whether that's worth.
You could, okay.
The speaker here is very strong, but maybe not up there.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I think we're okay. Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
That's okay. I do just want to reiterate that I do support the ban as you have drafted with your edits that you intend to make with defining the tier 2, tier 3 systems. But I do also just want to make some brief comments that even if NYSERDA characterizes such events, fire events, as rare, land use decisions must account for the severity of the consequence, not probability of alone. A low probability, high consequence industrial hazard belongs in an industrial setting with appropriate buffers and emergency resources, not near our families, not near our schools, and not near public recreational spaces. And then I just want to reiterate that I know we know this, but statewide policy goals do not override our town's obligation to protect us as residents from site-specific industrial risk. And it's not about whether energy storage belongs here in New York. I believe it does have a place, but it's about whether these industrial scale storage belongs next to our homes, our schools, our parks, our drinking water infrastructure. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for this open public commentary.
Okay, thank you. Do you have an order of names to that?
Jacqueline.
Okay, Jacqueline Rains, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We see your
Yes.
name, Jacqueline Rains. Please state your place of residence and go ahead.
Sure, my residence is Shingle House Road in Millwood. I apologize if you can't see me. I'm currently holding a baby, actually. And I'm calling in tonight as a concerned citizen, as a resident of Millwood, and I'm really appealing to the town of Newcastle to continue with this proposal and push it through. I cannot and wouldn't be able to go against the 5 or 6 people who showed up this evening from various organizations and have the means and lawyers to shut me up if they wanted to. But as a mother who moved here for the community and for safety and for clean air and all of the things that we love Newcastle for, having the tier 3 battery storage facility in our neighborhoods is dangerous. I am so pro sustainability. I recycle everything. But we are having 2 different conversations today. It seems like we have people that just want these facilities built, and then we have residents that are truly appealing to the town board to hear us. This isn't hyperbole. This is something that is happening right now in our community, and there's very little regard for where these will be built from the people that are showing up that don't live here. They would not want this in their backyards, but they're very much okay encouraging you to have it in ours. And so hopefully there's a space in Newcastle where we can support the sustainability efforts that batteries will provide the future of not just Newcastle, but the world. But I also hope that we are very, very thoughtful about the locations of these properties and what it would mean to the residents that live here and moved here for all of the things that I've already stated. Finally, 50 years ago, we thought asbestos was safe because a lot of developers came in and a lot of lobbyists came in and said it was safe. And now we've looked at what that has caused to the people, the children that attended those elementary schools, the homeowners, the secretaries in the office buildings, where it turns out it wasn't. So again, I just want to reiterate my not just enthusiasm, but my encouragement for this proposal. I hope it goes through, and I hope that there's real consideration to the people that live here and the impact of our quality of life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who was next on?
Sarah.
Okay, Sarah Kupferman?
Hi, Sarah Kupferman, also on Shingle House Road in Millwood. Like others of our community, I'm speaking tonight because I do support BESS systems. I think it's important that we have a sustainable grid going forward, but this is not a question of whether a industrial sized BESS system is a good idea for the world. It's a question of location and whether it is appropriate to place it here in Newcastle, where, as everyone has repeatedly said, we are 97% a residential community. I fear that a lot of the experts who are speaking tonight are conflating global need with the realities of our community. I think Jacqueline's point is really salient. Not only 50 years ago was asbestos considered safe, but 5 years ago, I'm guessing a lot of the same experts who have spoken tonight would tell us that those phase one BESS systems or that of the kind that set fire in Warwick, that 5 years ago, they would have told us that those were safe. And those were the state of the art, and there were very low likelihood of there being any issues. Everything is safe until you realize it's not, and you figure out what the problem was and you've solved for that problem. I really don't like the idea of our community being a guinea pig for these systems, especially at the scale of a tier 3. So I am here to support the proposed legislation, in particular, the ban on industrial sized BESS facilities, the tier 3. And also I'd like to echo one other prior statement that a lot of our neighboring communities have in fact put bans into place. So if you have statewide actors looking to find a place to build BESS facilities, and clearly there are incentivized groups, considering that we have folks from all over the state here speaking at this meeting tonight, so that's clearly something people are looking at. If we are the only green spot on the map where they are allowed, or at least not outright banned, they're going to come in, and we're going to be having, even if there's a special permitting process, we're going to be receiving a ton of requests for special permits, and it's going to become, that's what people are going to think of when they think of Chappaqua and Millwood instead of, the bucolic setting that we have and that I think we've all grown to love. Anyway, thank you all for the time.
Okay, thank you. Alexandra, I can't see your full name. Is this Alex Clark? Alexandra Clark? Hello.
Hello, my name is Alexandra Clark and I live on Gregory Lane in Millwood, 3/4 of a mile away from 82 Shingle House Road, which is at risk of being turned into a tier 3 BESS site. My children, age 7 and 9, both attend West Orchard Elementary School about a half mile away. I support the town's proposed legislation to ban both tier 2 and tier 3 BESS systems in the town of Newcastle. This legislation is not a hypothetical for us in my corner of Millwood, as you've heard today. While I'm speaking today in my personal capacity, those who know my work in town know how much I support environmentally friendly practices. I'm passionate about native horticulture and work tirelessly both on my own property and around town to plant gardens that feed wildlife and support biodiversity. While I am focusing my attention on how I can support the environment through horticulture, I appreciate the efforts of my peers to support green energy and accordingly their advocacy for BESS systems. BESS systems in industrial or sparsely populated areas on appropriately sited land with fire departments well equipped to mitigate the risks are helpful toward green energy goals. However, I believe BESS systems in dense suburban neighborhoods and near schools is inappropriate due to the public health and ecological risks should they catch fire. And the risks of these systems catching fire is real. We've been talking about the 2023 Warwick fire, during which schools had to be evacuated for a week. I don't think we've been talking enough tonight that there was a fire 2 months ago in Warwick. This was literally in the news in December. I don't often talk about this because it's really painful, but I will tonight because it's relevant here. I know full well what the consequences are to breathing in toxic smoke, including air the government at the time assured us was safe. I lived in the financial district in Manhattan during 9/11 as a student at NYU. When we were allowed back following evacuation, the EPA assured us that they had tested the air and that it was safe to breathe. 17 years later, when my son was 6 months old, I was diagnosed and treated for thyroid cancer. I'm okay now, and I consider myself, so far, incredibly lucky. Today, I have lawyers, I'm on a registry, and for the rest of my life, I have to worry what else might come up on a health exam. I didn't know better in 2001, and I have to live with that burden. But you can be sure I am not going to let my children breathe in toxic fumes should a BESS system down the road from our home and school catch fire. I don't want to live every day in the back of my mind also worrying that I might need to whisk them away at a moment's notice for an unknown period of time. BESS systems may be an important component of moving our country toward green energy, but they are not without their own ecological risks. Let's be smart about where we put them. The residential suburban town of Newcastle is not it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other hands raised online? No? Okay, let's see, I'm gonna do this the right way, hold on. Okay, so at this time, I'm not asking for an adjournment of the public hearing, I'm asking for a motion to continue the public hearing on March 24th, 2026.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is hereby closed or postponed and continued.
Continued.
Through March 21st. Thank you very much to everyone, I know you waited a long time. Thank you for all of your comments, and we will continue on March 24th. Thank you to everyone who was online as well.
Oh, hi Larry.
Good night, folks. Spring together.
Thank you, Sabrina.
It's reading out there.
Is it? Thank you, David. Thanks, Tom, thanks for being here.
Everyone drive safely. Careful, apparently it's sleeting, so everyone take your time getting home. My phone buzzed and said that it was snowing. Really? But sleet, snow. It was from my last location.
So that we can get them safely too.
Yeah.
I didn't think for a moment that includes us.
Yes.
I'm thinking with them, they gotta be careful. I know.
It's just us. No, we'll try to.
Okay, let me make sure, okay, got everything.
We'll drug them before bedtime.
Okay. Okay, everybody, we all wanna get home, because it's snowing, it's sleeting, so we're gonna continue. Everybody go talk outside.
Can you please
We're gonna continue.
exit the room? We have a meeting
Yeah.
to continue. We'd like to
Everybody,
get home. Thank you. Thank you.
It's snowing and sleeting outside, so drive safely and we all wanna get home.
Thank you.
Sorry to yell into the microphone.
Can you take your conversations outside, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
I mean, they can, they just need to be quiet.
Rob, we went over the consent agenda, we've
Yes.
got the proposed action in the resolution, so we're gonna
Let's go.
start off.
10 o'clock.
Let me see. Let me get the resolutions. Okay, Eric, do you wanna start us off with the
Where-
resolutions? With the consent agenda items,
Gotta read them all, or-
please?
Nope.
No.
I move to adopt the items 1 through 12 as listed on the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to retroactively approve the payment of claims in the amount of $1,800,537.04. Expenditures totaling $1,557,913.51, and 2026 expenditures totaling $252,623.53 listed on the summary AP check register and detail voucher details report, all dated January 13th, 2026. Checks were printed and distributed to each claimant listed on Friday, January 23rd, 2026.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay. I move to retroactively approve the payment of claims in the amount of $27,200.14 listed on the summary AP check register and detail voucher detail report, all dated January 30th, 2026. Checks were printed and distributed to each claimant listed on Friday, January 30th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to accept the retirement of Richard Fowler from the position of general repairer within the Department of Public Works effective January 26, 2026. The town would like to thank Chip for his 28 years of dedicated service to the town. You will be missed. Thank you so much and enjoy your retirement.
Big second.
Yeah, thank you, Chip.
you,
Enjoy
Chip.
your retirement. All in all in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Freddie Ramiro Suqui for the position of laborer within the Recreation and Parks Department at the annual salary of $53,841.35 effective March 9th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To the next two.
I move to authorize the hiring of Michael Antonucci for the position of seasonal laborer within the Recreation and Parks Department, the hourly rate of $20 per hour, effective March 2nd, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Number 6, we were gonna.
Aye. Oh, yes, okay.
I move to authorize the reappointment of Daniel Papes as a member of the Board of Assessment Review for a 5-year term, effective October 1st, 2025 to September 30th, 2030.
Second.
Oops. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jen, go ahead.
Sorry.
I move to authorize the reappointment of Elizabeth Powell as an alternate member of the Board of Assessment Review for a 1-year term effective April 18th, 2026 through April 30th, 2027.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Move to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
You
Have a
guys.
good night.
Thank you.